Hi, everybody. I'm Brian.
And I'm Joey.
Folks, this is episode 285 of Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt. If you're new here, this is the podcast where we talk about gravel bikes, adventure biking, bike packing, bike camping, just playing bikes. We have got, Joey, a jam-packed show this week. We're going to talk about Lulaca, because that was just 2 days ago. I want to catch up with you on what you did with your trail building, because I'm excited to hear all about that, because it looked like from the photos that you shared on Instagram, y'all had a bunch of people there helping out, which is super cool. And then I am going to finally deliver my American Classic Tire long-term report, long-term review, because I do believe I have maximized the life out of those tires already. I've taken them to the brink of them no longer actually functioning as tires. So before we get to all of that, folks, GTD After Hours is our Discord server, and that is the best and not the only way to support the podcast, but it's the best way to support the podcast. Sure. Unless you want to go buy a T-shirt every month. But actually, at the end of the day, we make less money off of T-shirt sales than we do off of our Discord server. So it's just $5 a month, just $5 a month. Supports the podcast, plus gives you access to a wealth of stuff that's going on over there. And I just want to give you a rundown of what GTD After Hours has been about in the last maybe week or two. So we got our Scratch and Denton gravel grinder free entry giveaway that we're doing for one of our GTD After Hour listeners. And I've got entries for that already. I was worried that no one, because the numbers are still relatively small. So I was worried that, nobody would be able to put it in their schedule, because one of the questions I ask is, are you going to be able to attend? And that is August 29th. We've got a free entry, and we're doing anybody who enters to win out of our GTD After Hours subscribers will then be entered to win, and we'll do a random pick. Maybe we'll have Blake pick the number. Do you think he could do that?
Probably.
Like how many times he barks at a like random neighbor or squirrel or something. That'd be fun. And we're going to have, in just a couple of weeks, the event directors and promoters for Scratch and Denton on the podcast. So I'm excited to hear, because it's they are very new to organizing a gravel event, and I'm excited to. We've said it before, right? That without the organizers and the promoters and those people that are willing to take the time to make it happen, that not a lot of this takes place. Mm-hmm. So it's exciting that there's some new people coming into the equation to do that. We've had a very, very interesting conversation about click valves.
I haven't hopped into that one yet.
Which is,
we talked about it last week.
We talked about it a little bit, but if you're interested in that at all, maybe if that conversation really evolves, we'll have a full-blown in-depth kind of thing here. Also, metal bottles is another thing that people are discussing. This all sounds very, very, I don't know what's the right word, pedestrian, but at the same time, it's the stuff that everybody wants to know. And now you've got a vetted, valued community of people that you could trust to ask these questions of. A couple of events that are coming up. Grusk, July 11th. The talk and the planning has already begun. I know Casey and Larry are both looking at the 220, which launches on Thursday. And I was talking to Larry over the weekend at Lulaca, and I think he's talking about doing that in like one overnight, a 220 with a one overnight. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm excited. I'm thinking I'm going to go out early to both help Travis and then possibly be in the vicinity should they need any support or help during the course of that big grand endeavor. Grinduro, saw Dave this weekend. He's pushing Grinduro. That is July 18th. I'm pretty excited about that. And I know this one is way out there, but I think it deserves and warrants us talking about a September event here in April, and that's the PA Gravel Fest. Do you think you're going to be able to make that?
I'm not doing events in the fall.
No, not at all. Even if it was an open weekend.
That's why we didn't have podcasts last year.
I know.
I'm already thinking, what's my life going to be like for the podcast in the fall?
We'll figure it out.
It is an off weekend for me, but I have back-to-back weekends. I have Deep Creek, and then Roosevelt close. If
you do get slammed in the fall and this becomes problematic, I think we're at a point now where I could just do some interviews in the fall and give you the break in that sort of window of time to do what you need to do. So take that pressure off in the fall, because I know it starts for you in August, right?
Yeah,
in like early mid-August.
First event is August 15th weekend. I'm doing the Pennsylvania League summer camp. So with pickle, I'll be at summer camp into the first few days of August. Then I get like 2 weeks to prep.
Wow.
We'll be in Burke Mountain Academy. So like I'll be in some pretty nice mountain bike country.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'll start going really quick.
Yeah.
Like my weekends already this year were just my time.
No.
And
I don't think this played out. I know that you thought you were going to have a lot more free time in sort of the off season, but and I think this is just.
I did this off season to myself.
Yeah, I know, but it's also, I think that's just your nature to take something like this a lot more seriously than maybe some other folks have done in the past. So not in the past. I don't want to say it that way. I don't want to say it that. I don't want that came out really wrong. I think it's in your nature to take things to a lot more seriously than you would have even anticipated. Right?
Well, I didn't need to do Philly Bike Expo. I didn't need to do New Jersey. There's a bunch of stuff I didn't need to do. I did our coaches retreat, which I needed to do. And then trail weekend this past weekend was just a golden opportunity. That's all I really needed to do. But I also had the dog's recovery all off, all January, February, March.
That was right.
Remember that?
That's right. It's just like those memes where it's like, everything's going good. I've got a little extra money in my bank account, and they show the dog, and the dog, should I throw up? Should I start limping? Should I start, doing all that kind of stuff? So it's like your life, man. It's life. It's real life, baby.
May is pretty open. I might go to Catskills for 3 or 4 days. End of June is Bend, Oregon for our national conference for work. Then it's off. End of July is, I picked that. Well, I don't have to go. It's highly suggested I go. Same with the pickle summer camp. I'm just going because we're looking at doing our own in the future. So we're going to shadow Pat. Uncle Pat actually produces the summer camp for Pennsylvania for their NICA program. So my race director is going to go up and shadow him. So if we want to do it next year, and I'm just going to go to help her and watch and whatnot. So, because I won't be producing it. Yeah, my staff will be producing it. And then we get into season. But our season's not bad. It's first event, a week off, second event, and then we have 2 weeks off. Then we have a couple short back-to-backs. Then we have like a 4-week gap, and then we're done with our finals.
Yeah, but there's so much more to what you do than the
That'll
events.
Be good.
That feels like it's just like a minor part of what it is that you've got going on. Speaking of Pat, wow. Okay, I don't do this very often, and I know you don't like the sound effects, but Lulaca, I'm giving it some applause over here. And Pat, if you're listening, I think this may actually be the first time, Joey, that I've used the applause sound effect. I don't think I've ever done it before.
I think we've done it in the past, like a couple of years ago.
Maybe when we first got this little board and I was tinkering with it, but we don't use it regular because I know you're not a fan of the sound effects. If it was up to me, I'd have an entire board of bing, bong, bing, because I come from the days of old radio, baby, where it's like, you got the crazy guy in the corner that's hitting all the buttons and making all the sounds. But quite frankly, Joey, and I know you've ridden in that area, right? Have you done any riding in that area, that sort of Scranton, Wilkes-Barre?
Mm-mm.
My goodness, is it beautiful? I kid you not, and I have ridden my bike in as have you in a lot of amazing, beautiful places. It could have been the combination of the day and the company and the weather and just the vibe of the event. And it's the first time I've done one of Pat's events because it's in April. It's a shoulder season. I'm usually traveling. All of those things came together to just make for the most beautiful and most incredible ride I have ever experienced or been a part of. And that's saying a lot. So let's go backwards to the beginning. It was raining for the drive up on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Raining on me on Saturday.
Yeah, we're going to talk about I got a whole section here to follow up with your Saturday events. That means zip it over there because I'm talking about Lulaca. I'm giving all of the attention right now to the most beautiful northeastern Pennsylvania gravel event that you could possibly come by. Rain going up on Saturday, but knew it was going to stop overnight. Knew it was going away and knew that Sunday was going to bring sort of cloudy gray skies and then the possibility of it opening up a little bit and getting some blue sky. But I think if you go to a Pennsylvania event, Pennsylvania gray is the color that you're looking for because it was perfect. No bright sun in your face, no sunshine, no sunburn, no having to worry about all the stuff. So the brewery, we went to the brewery on Susquehanna Brewing Company on Saturday, met Larry there. And it was funny because Larry and I hadn't coordinated literally at all. And I'm flying up 81 and here comes the blue Toyota, just flying by.
Did Larry get a pulled over going down
He did. He got a little ticky.
Oh, did he get a ticket going to Lulaca?
No, he got a ticket going to Croatan.
I was going to say, yeah.
Well, it wasn't such a little ticket either.
No,
we
won't slow him down a little bit.
So I meet Larry. Literally, we pull in the parking lot at the exact same moment, which was just, it couldn't have been for better timing. Nice little brewery, go in. Larry drinks a couple beers, I think. We catch up with Pat. We make some plans for later, which I kind of knew weren't really going to come true because Pat, you got to focus on the show. You got to focus on your event. So we made plans. Larry and I camped at a state park, Francis Slocum State Park, which is just up the hill, about 15, maybe 20 minutes away from the event start at the firehouse. And Pat gives us a great recommendation for dinner, a place called Sabatini's. It's like, tomato pie, right? That
Got in Jersey, that tomato pie.
That sweet sauce. It's
mustard
different.
Sauce?
Nope. It was tomato sauce, but it wasn't tomato pie. It was a real pizza pie, but it had that, the sauce had that sweet kind of tomato sauce base to it. And we did mushroom and garlic with that sweet sauce and the right amount of cheese. And it was just perfect. It was wonderful. It was a great way. And since it was raining, we go to Sabatini's and we just hang out for like an hour before we even order the pizza. Have some mozzarella cheese sticks. And I told the hostess at the counter we went in. I said, "Listen, we're expecting a couple people. Maybe they might be about an hour." And she's like, "Oh, I'm glad you got here early so you could get your table." And I was like, "Okay, well, that's the vibe we're after because that's what we're doing." Really, really, really good pizza. Then we turn around and go back up to the campground that we've already set up at, and it's raining. And so not the best campsite. There were better ones, and I'm not sure, it's kind of luck of the draw when you're looking at a map and you just pick away. Not a lot of space, but Larry sleeps in his truck, and I put my tent up and had the heater running inside the tent. It's raining. I slept like a baby.
That was wonderful.
Man, it was wonderful. It was wonderful because when we got there, Larry's not going to be without a fire. So we actually got a fire going.
Pellets.
He had a whole bag of pellets. So we actually pulled my truck up into the campsite and pulled my awning out.
Was that your first time using it?
On
a trip?
No. But I pulled the awning out. I haven't used it a lot. Pulled the awning out and got it just to the edge of where the fire was like not going to interfere with the awning. So we could sit right at the edge of the fire underneath the awning because it was still kind of sprinkly raining. It wasn't raining hard or else we wouldn't be able to do that. We got a nice fire going, sat there for about an hour or so, and then buttoned everything up, hopped into bed. Up early the next morning. It's a show and go start for Lulaca. He gives you some projected times, and I love the way that Pat does this. He gives you the windows of time that the rest stops are open. So you can then gauge your own start. You can say, well, if I feel like I'm going to go 10 miles or 12 miles an hour, and that rest stop's open from here to here, then I need to start as late as this or as early as that. I like the way it's done.
What was the window?
There was like a 2, maybe 3 hour window for the rest stops to be open.
No, I mean the start.
I think he wanted everybody on course by like 9. I think that was the timing. And that was I actually read my event email too. And he even did a nice Google Doc with all the information in it, even a spreadsheet with all of the start times. So very, very incredibly well organized. Speaking of well organized, at all the rest stops, and then at the end of the race, you had to check in with your bib number, which kept track of where people were. Very responsible. Very nicely done, Pat. I appreciate that. I know how hard that is to execute because we do that on adventure cycling trips. And ESR, we've done it in the past where you've got that checkoff sheet and it's so hard. And then you get the people that just blow past the rest stops. But if you can keep like a good handle on the volume of people, I think you're doing pretty good. So the party pace group the fun group was Lena, Larry, and myself. There was just the 3 of us there. I know there were a lot of other people there, but it didn't seem like it from our world because we had so much fun. And maybe that was part of what made it so beautiful. Just having people there was no rush. But there was also no lollygagging. It was like just this nice, steady party pace. Everybody did great on the hills. Everybody moved at the same kind of like general speed, and there was waiting when needed. And we took a lot of time and took pictures and stopped, and none of that rush. I'm racing kind of an event. So when you leave the firehouse, you're riding through, I guess it's West Jenkins Township, and I guess that's kind of where Pat that's the genesis of Pat, I believe, is that little area, because I know you rode by, I think, his childhood home, which has a little placard outside of it says home of
Uncle Pat.
Uncle Pat. That's exactly what it says. In fact, we should actually get one made and put it up there, hanging on the fence.
A little yard sign.
But you ride through town, ups and downs, and then comes single track. You know I'm not a mountain biker.
No, we practiced last week.
And legit, dude, it was spicy. It was spicy single track because it had all that rain had turned a lot of those little, and they're not real. It's not real, like, it's not purpose made single track. It is like, it's true goat path kind of thing. It's like connects this neighborhood to that neighborhood. And I expected to get hit by from a kid with a rock with a slingshot or something as I was riding through. But it was lots of like humps, and somebody had cut down some trees because they were trying to keep the quads from running up and down through the neighborhood behind on these backs. You're off and on. And then the last little section of single track, as we were leaving town, it was really rocky and it was spicy. It wasn't not doable, especially on my 50s, although I did worry about those American classics on the back end of that bike. A little bit. I'll talk to you about that later. So you're through town, then you're out on the highway, you cross the river, hit this beautiful river road with this giant waterfall. The sky is gray. It's cool. You had to make sure you're dressed right, did a few layers, and actually we all kind of stripped off a few layers a little bit later in the morning. Then a really fun little isolated piece of, it's hard to describe. It looked like it was kind of the side trail to a railroad, but it wasn't the ballast. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's another one of those little back roads that goat path kids probably created. But the nice thing is with that show and go start and without that giant group, so all of the single track was just, you didn't feel like you were being pressured from the back or held up from the front. When you're on that little section, same thing. You just felt like you were able to just do your own thing and ride your own ride and have fun. I mean, it was that point I began to think in my mind, and maybe this kind of shaped it as well. It felt a lot like a hootenanny or a fall fuck around, because it had all of the, like, one point we rode through the grass coming out of the single track behind a ball field next to a chain link fence. And it was like, it's just all kind of, and you know how the fuck around and the hootenannies have got that kind of feel to them where it's like a little bit of everything. It's like, yeah, we're just going to kind of go some places and do some things. And then it became proper. After that, a little bit of gravel road that was not really a road. We hit some hard top, and then we made a sharp right turn and decided it was time to breathe heavy. 18% grades, wall like you wouldn't believe. And they seemed to just go on and on and on. Nobody really had any issue with it. Lena did great. Larry obviously was, Larry doing his thing, clickety clack. I'm so glad. He's actually fixing that derailleur now, apparently. He's going to replace it. Because without that 20
watt... Was that a replacement? It was the one I put on?
It was a replacement of a replacement. Oh. So, but without that 20 watt penalty, I think Larry would have been, he'd have been struggled to stay with us. So we hit that wall and climb and climb and climb and climb. And then it seemed like all of these climbs were like this. You would get to the top and you could tell you were on a ridge and everything was open, because the ridges are not so high that they don't have, there's farms on the top of these ridges. And so you would hit these gravel roads, and the gravel, Joey, Cadillac, Hero, whatever name you want to call it, that's what it was. And it was that, this was what was so special in my opinion about it. You'd hit the top of that ridge, you'd get these wide open views, you'd bounce along a little bit, and then when you came to that big descent, there was no sharp corners or hairpins or none of that stuff. It was, you just went over and down, and you could see that road stretch out.
I haven't looked at your...
You could see that road stretch out in front of you. And not only was the gravel so pristine that made it like you could just open the bike up, where there were some small potholes and little things in the road, you could see them so far in advance. And there was none of that kind of, like, for somebody like me that we don't get to climb a lot, we don't get to descend a lot. So it always, I feel a little, especially early on in an event, like, okay, I got to be careful here. I got to. No, with this, it was just like, oh my goodness, this road just rolls out in front of you, stretches on forever, and you could just see it just.
Oh, I see the wall where you
going down, and just flying straight. Now, one thing there were a lot of stop signs at the bottom of some descents.
So you couldn't keep your momentum.
Yeah, but usually it was like when you were coming to the bottom of that, it wasn't really a need to keep momentum, because you were usually entering the bottom towards the valley, and everything seemed to be like a climb and a plateau, or a descent, and then a little roller and flats in the bottom. So there was never really any concern over that. Did I say that the single track was really spicy? Yeah, it was. That sticks in my mind.
Well, there's some
big descents though. Hero gravel.
Man, that last descent.
Yeah.
You start at like mile 54 and end up at like, it's like almost a 5 miler.
The whole thing is probably about 8, more like 8. It got flat at the bottom, but man, was that, and that was hardtop too. That was hardtop. And that was a little busier road. There was some car traffic on that road, but no car traffic all day except for one. The only issue we had is a dude on a 4x4 came flying out of his road, had a loose dog running next to him, and the dog said, "Well, I'm not following you anymore," and he went after Larry. And if it'd been me, yeah, that dog was moving, and it was on a downhill, so Larry was moving. If it had been me or Lena, I think we'd have been calling an ambulance because I'd have been in the ditch and the fence and the this and the that and all over the place. Larry, he caught up to me. He's like, "That dog was nipping at my foot." Just nothing.
Gotta taste LFP.
Nothing phases that guy, man. This is legit. First rest stop, 23-mile marker. Plenty of food, all the great stuff. Then more riding, more descents, more climbing, more descents. And at the top of, I think there were 4 categorized climbs. When I look at my Strava, I think there was a couple, like 3 4s and 1 3.
So here's 1, 2, 3, 4,
yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8. Because there's hidden ones. There's 3 hidden 4s.
They may be like overlap.
Then there's 3 4s, and then there's a 3. Yeah, there might be overlaps.
It was the top of the 3 that you crest the hill, and in front of you is the rest stop, just on the side of the road. And I'm not talking about just a rest stop. I'm talking about an Enterprise truck running as a full-blown, full-bore taco machine.
Tacos look great.
They were amazing. Fresh chicken, beef, whatever you wanted, rice, beans, all the fixings, all the toppings, little cups of fresh pico and guac and sour cream and anything you wanted. So Pat was right about one thing, because I saw him at that second rest stop, and he said, "How many? You ate 2 tacos. I'm going to tell you're going to go down this hill and you're going to make a right-hand turn and you're going to question that choice." And he was 100% spot on, but so worth it. And I think Lena and Larry both had a beer with the tacos at the second rest stop. But what a fantastic break! The perfect timing. It wasn't overcrowded. Sometimes you roll up to places like that and it's like, it's not worth waiting for all that. And
I was expecting just like what I'm having for dinner tonight kind of tacos. Like I'm doing the easy, what are the box shells, some ground beef, and
they hard shells, soft shells, and they would also have done you
like fancy,
like a walking taco. Could have also done that.
This is like elevated Taco Bell kind of, like supreme.
Yeah, that's taco truck, man. I'm telling you, they had it all set up like a tacos chain going on up inside the Enterprise truck. And I wanted to bring them home. I was like, "Can you just hop in that truck and just come with me home?" It was so good, and so on the money from a timing perspective. And yes, they hit you a little bit on that next climb, but then you forgot about it, and all was over. The last climb,
that's 100 feet a mile ride.
Yeah. Well, that's Pennsylvania. That's West Virginia, 100 feet per mile. And they were a lot of, I'd look down at the Garmin, and who knows how accurate the Garmin is on the grades, but you would just see 17, 18, 16, 17, 18. It got so that the 18%, there was so much of it that the 10 and 11% grades felt like a relief. And it was like, okay, this is just normal operating. Because when you're not rushing, when you're not racing up a hill, and you just settle in and find your gearing and find your groove and just spin it out. And you know me, I don't climb fast. My bike doesn't climb fast. It was just wonderful. I mean, I can't say enough about the road conditions. And maybe it was also because we'd had all that rain the day before, that there was no dust. Everything was really tacky and sticky. There was no loose marble kind of stuff going on. There was no big chunky stuff going on. And so the last climb is the highest elevation point. I think we got up to like 1,400.
That's the one I was looking at.
Yeah, 1,400 feet of elevation. And about, I'm going to say 2/3 of that was on hardtop to finish off. And you get up to the top one more time, you're rewarded with these amazing views. Even Joey, like some of the smaller climbs, you would climb and you'd come around a corner and just popped right in front of you. It's almost like art. There's these beautiful trees on either side, this gravel road that winds up, and then there's a red barn with a silo at the top of it just peeking through the hole in the trees. And it just kind of takes your breath away, and spring is just starting to really pop in that part of Pennsylvania.
Do they have green yet?
They had some green.
Because the last few trips I've been on outside of Southern Maryland, they're like weeks behind us.
Yeah, there was some
Falling
green,
stuff.
especially lower. There was some green. But up high, it still had a little bit of that gray, which kind of lent itself to the whole feel of the day, and then, so just over and over and over again, you're rewarded. So I guess what I'm saying is if you haven't done Lulaca, which I had never done it is charming and just absolutely something. Now, I can't speak for the hundreds, and I can't speak for the 40s, but that 63 was a right sweet spot. It took us I think our moving time was about 6.5 hours, something like that. Yeah. So, we were moving a little, our day's average was a little over 10 miles an hour, I think. And we were only stopped for maybe an hour and a half on that whole day. I don't think we would do quick stops and take a lot of pictures. And then there was a long stop with the tacos and then probably a longer stop at the first aid station as well. But geez. And then, like you said, you finish up with this giant screamer descent, which is hard top. Then you're down, you cross the river. And before you know it, you cross the river and then you get on more like hootenanny stuff because you're next to a chain link fence on actual railroad ballast for a while, knocking it along. It's like for 2 miles is this long straight run on this really nice little gravel stretch through town. And then suddenly you're in town and you pop out and you're at the fire station where there's pizza, there's brownies, there's beer, there's sodas, there's all that stuff's going on, and you can go inside, sit at some tables. I talked to Dave for a while, talked to some other friends, and just kind of hung out and had some pizza. And congratulations, Lena won a Root Works front bag.
I saw that.
That is pretty awesome. I know that she said that she put all of her tickets, because that's how he did it. You put your tickets in your little bags, and she said, that's something that I wanted, so I put all my tickets in that bag, and it worked. So that strategy.
She put a bag to win a bag?
Yeah, she put tickets in a bag to win a bag. And it's the nice green way, too, the nice colorway that's really, really
I would have got that when
if
I
they had it. Yeah.
If they had it. Well, the discount was on that gray one.
I like your gray one, too.
Yeah.
I mean, black.
But the green is, I love.
What ended up to be about a $400 bag with all the China tariffs.
Remember I got mine for like $80 in the truck with you?
I know.
But the gray one was the one that was like 99% off.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, you guys paid a ton of money.
So, to recap the whole thing.
Don't do Lulaca.
You do not want to miss Lulaca next year. So, put a big circle. Go open your calendars. I don't know what the date is for next year. Go to your calendar, circle the thing, do the thing, whatever you need to do. Put a reminder at the beginning of April or whenever registration opens that this is one that you should not miss. I think it's going to have the same vibe in that respect as what I anticipate. And I'm going to build it up. It's kind of like when people say you should see this movie because it's so great, it's so great, it's so great. And then you go and it's not as great. I hope that's not the case. But I think PA Gravel Fest is going to have that same vibe. It's going to have that same do not miss this event kind of vibe. So I hope I've gushed enough. I hope. And you see I got my hat. I got my Lulaca hat because I've earned it. And
I got one without even doing it.
I know.
I know a guy.
It's a gentle jab.
That's all right. I have 18 Grusk hoodies and T-shirts and bottles of alcohol, and I've still never done it. So
that was
perks.
That's just it. It's always for me. April is that window of time when I was either in Texas or Blue Ridge or God knows where, and now that I'm not really doing that. It's opened up a whole other world for me, and I am so excited about it. They can have all of that. I'm done babysitting geriatrics on bike tours. I just am. I'm enjoying this opportunity to really get to events that I've not had the chance to go to.
Downside to the schedule is I'm trying to do our coaches retreat this same weekend, or the April 24th.
As Lulaca? Okay.
Well, I don't know if it'll be that weekend, but generally that last weekend of April is pretty.
You just need to. I can guarantee you, Pat already knows the date, and he'll probably chime in the comments on this. Yeah, text him right now. It's like, what's the date? so that we can give it to the peoples. So yeah, I can't say enough wonderful things. And I know a lot of our friends and a lot of our listeners have already done Lulaca in the past. It's one of those ones that we want to make sure doesn't go anywhere. So this is good repeat business, and I would recommend doing it for the first time or coming back if you've done it in the past. Is that good? Is that a good wrap up?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Now, did you text Pat?
Yeah, it was really weird because I had to type in 2027 thinking, holy cow.
Yeah.
It's wild. I just turned 36 and now I'm closer to 40. I'm close to
40. Ooh. Wait till you get up here with me, bud.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be long gone by that time.
Well, I said I never make it to 30, so here we go.
So
it's a lot of gray that you can't see on camera all over.
Well, that's the one thing about the ginger. The ginger hides the gray, doesn't it?
No, I say that I can definitely see it in the beard. The side of where my headphones are, that's all gray.
Yeah.
So it's like salt and paprika instead of salt and pepper.
Oh, you're spicy.
Yeah.
Spicy Joey.
Yeah.
Okay. I was at Lulaca and you were doing work building trails.
Well, so we hosted last year, coming on board, something I wanted to do, taken off of the Pennsylvania side of things, is we have this program called Teen Trail Corps, which is about trail stewardship for the student athletes and anyone in NICA. And so we have this program. We collect you do trail work, whether you're doing advocacy, talking about trail work or actually doing the work itself. It's a program, nothing competitive about it. We do have an element where you can earn bonus points, which was a big catalyst to the amount of trail work that went into the program last year.
And this is for the kids that are in the program.
Kids and adults, but kids, yeah. So basically, it always existed. Mikkel has always done a good job at it, but people weren't logging hours, and it was always there. John is a huge trail steward. He does trail work all the time. I saw what Pennsylvania was doing, and I asked everyone, like, hey, let's try to elevate this program. We have a coordinator in place this year and last year. We created a reward system about it. We recognized it a little bit more. It just wasn't around. Like, it still existed, and they still had hours. We just went from 400 logged hours to 2,500 hours.
Holy cow.
Last year, by putting that into place
wow.
and having someone take that on my staff. So that started going. We were doing great. We already had an amazing relationship with Maryland DNR, which is our Department of Natural Resources. PA calls it DCNR, and anyway.
Everybody's got their own name.
Everyone's got their own name. And then last fall, the state approached us and said, hey, do you want to partner in this pilot program where we take a huge chunk of trail to work on? We give you the whole campsite. So basically we went to Rocky Gap State Park. That was pitched. Do it before the season opens there. It's the second biggest campground in the state. It's huge. The amount of campsites is ridiculous.
Right.
It has some trail network that's always been there. And I've been to Rocky Gap. I spent my senior year I did my senior trip there instead of going to Ocean City to be a hellion with my friends, probably for the best. So me and my dad spent a week there. We got one of the little cabins. It's a very 4 walls and a bed. Nothing great. It's a place to sleep, which it was awesome. They have those there. They have different amenities.
That's not a CCC program camp, is it?
I don't know what that means.
Civilian Conservation Corps.
Oh, I think they actually
built in the 30s.
There may be Maryland Conservation Corps does stuff there. I don't know if that's the same thing, but
no, it's not. There may have been the same kind. That was it's another thing altogether.
I spent a week there in 2007 or 8, which was great. So I've always loved Rocky Gap. But there needs to be a little bit more trail and connector trails. So Dan Hudson, who is the lead trail planner for Maryland DNR, past IMBA employee, an amazing trail designer, he approached us, which is really wild because usually you're begging the state and other people to do this stuff. So we didn't throw it together. It was a lot of work. Originally, we were hoping for 300 plus people, which is early in April, which is tough to get. So we got about 150, but we had some impending rain coming. So it was close to calling it at one point in time because there was no rain date because the park opens up for camping next because they basically we were the only people camping there.
Yeah.
And that side, you couldn't access the campground without a code and all this. It was great. So we had this private thing. There was head rangers from all over the state came to help. The Maryland Conservation Corps employees who, I don't know if I think they're volunteer. I don't know if they're paid, but they're Maryland Park Service folks who build trail. They're the ones digging all the time. Dan has flagged this trail out for a while. They went out, different crews. They made sure all the trees that were down were cleared. They flagged it, and it's a connected trail. It's about 7,000 feet of trail, which is about a mile.
Wow. So that you built about a mile's worth?
No.
Okay.
The goal was if we had 300 to 400 people, that was kind of the goal over the weekend. But that was multiple, like a Friday day or Friday chunk of time, a Saturday and a Sunday. Ideally, with kids of all ages and skill levels. We're not doing this professionally. As far as like energy levels, we just did a big block on Saturday.
Nice.
The plus to that and going out there is he's been on our podcast, and Zach Adams, who runs Appalachian Dirt out of West Virginia, built 4-ish miles of machine-built trail on the other side of the park.
Okay.
So there was trail. There's the lake loop to ride, which reminded me a lot of St. Mary's Lake.
Okay.
But we rode over. We were going to host a ride over there, but a lot of our plans got changed because of the rain. Yeah. That trail was only open for 2 weeks.
Yeah, because your primary work day was that Saturday that it rained all day.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we pivoted. Me and Adam got there Saturday or Friday afternoon around like 5. We had to do a detour for Chipotle, but
that's good.
We got there. We did the little 6 o'clock debrief. We had camping the whole weekend. We set up your canopy, your Taj Mahal, as I called it. And then around 6:30, a little late because we didn't have lights, we rode from the campsite a couple miles, which was really sketchy the way we rode, to the new trails, rode the new trails, which were some of the best trails I've ridden in a long time.
So the trail is kind of in place. It's just this was you were working it to.
So we rode over to the trail Zach built.
Okay.
Which was in the other corner of Rocky Gap towards the casino. So we had to ride around the lake a little bit over the dam.
Okay.
We rode that because we were going to do a ride Sunday, depending on the weather. I'm glad we rode Friday night. We got back right around dark, had campfire, guitars, singing.
Were you singing?
No.
Oh, come on.
We have a few staff that play, and they're very good at it. And then, Saturday happened. So we had about 80 to 100 people show up still, with knowing that, and I was pretty vocal, at least email-wise, that like it might rain. Now, Cliff, the lead ranger there, he said it's iffy where sometimes the storms hit Garrett County around Deep Creek and fizzle out, and then they pick back up around Frederick. So we were all optimistic about it.
That's the way to be.
To bring rain gear, and
it's the way to be.
So we had a pretty decent, like 15, 20-minute hike up the mountain Saturday morning, and we left at 9. The plan was to come down at 3. So you're going up with your trail tools, McLeod's, Pulaski's, picks, and everything. You're going up with your lunch, water.
Images, snow white dwarfs.
Oh, yeah. That's the way it felt going up. And it wasn't an easy hike.
Yeah.
You're wearing boots and you're wearing pants because you don't want to be out there in shorts and tennis. You needed the boots for rock because we were rocking up rocks. And like the name Rocky Gap, it was very rocky. And we had a nice little stretch of trail as like an example. And then we split up into 5 groups of 20-ish.
Okay.
And then we worked. And then you basically picked your section about, you had a decent gap, like 20 feet between each person. And you're in this row. And like we had section 3. It was a good stretch. And at first, it seemed like, and Dan the day before only did 30 feet of trail. If you've never done trail work, it's really hard. If you're doing bench cutting is what we were doing. It's not just like blow the leaves. So we knew we would hit a lot of rocks.
You have to take a lot more material out than people could possibly even imagine when you have the bench cut.
Well, this was the hardest trail work I've done.
Okay.
So you go to places like in Patapsco, you bench cut, you're whacking a little dirt, and it's good to go. I'm not saying that about all of Patapsco. It's rocky, and same with parts of St. Mary's Lake, whatnot. There's roots, but
explain what a bench cut is for folks that may not be familiar with the term.
Bench cut is, so you don't build trails straight up and down because of water flow and contour and a lot of stuff. So you're going along, you got a hill. The way the trail is designed, the hill is at an angle. So you're basically cutting out, almost looks like a bench. So you're cutting out a back part, a little bit of slope. It's not flat, but it's at an angle.
You still want the water to be able to run.
So you want the water to run off the trail.
So your tires aren't off camber.
Correct, yeah.
When you're on that. So it gives a little bit.
And a lot of trails you ride are probably bench cut if you're designed right, because you're going to follow the contours. And I said, you're not going to get a lot of trails that are just straight up and down because it'll road out. All kinds of stuff.
And be miserable.
Yeah.
And be miserable to ride.
So a lot of our stuff was bench cutting. We knew about every swing of the McLeod or whatever tool you were using was going to hit a rock. And it was hit or miss. Like Adam, who was probably where the stove was, and the wash or the sink over here to my left. We were next to a creek bed. He had like hero dirt, but there was still so much what you call duff, organic matter, to get through that you had to cut, and you had to cut through that and then start tearing. It took me about an hour and a half to do a 10-foot section.
Wow.
And that was about average time.
Now, how much dynamite did you get to use?
Oh, I wish.
That would have been fun.
I was close to a creek bed, so I had a lot of roots. But like that far over where Adam was, he didn't have the roots. He also didn't have a lot of rocks. He had like this beautiful hero dirt. So we do that, and then we play leapfrog. So I got the next section, and I was over roots. They weren't like the thick. Well, it did get thick, but the next section I was on was the other side of the creek bed, and I hit like a quarry of rocks, like to the point where my soil where I was gray from all the rocks, and I moved like the pile. I have to show you, find a picture of the pile of these ones, whether it's like fist size and a little bigger up on top of my bench cut up there. Then I had some that were like head size, if not bigger, that we would pull out and roll down a little bit. Like the amount of rocks was amazing.
Now, what kind of
that took a few hours.
What kind of like requirements do you have to do if you encounter something that is just immovable?
Yeah,
and is there somebody from the state that says, no, we're not. We're gonna have to
Dan
rethink
did
this?
flag most of it pretty well. Like there's some rocks you just wouldn't see until you got underneath them.
Yeah.
We called them fridges, the ones that you couldn't move, and like we had like 6-foot pry bars. Where if we needed to try to roll them, we would. If they became a feature, then they become a feature. But we got most of everything out.
Cool.
And we knew it might start raining. It would drizzle for a little, like it was like refreshing. It was like 60 degrees. We got a quick drizzle, and then we kept working. And then we ate around like 12:30. It was raining. I opted not to put my rain jacket on. I was like, this isn't bad. And then it was raining more, and then we started to eat lunch. And then I was like, all right, now I'm really committed. And I'm like, I only brought one rain jacket in my bag. And then me and Adam were like, all right, most people have them on. They're already wet and stinky anyway. I'm going to keep mine for dry in camp later, which worked. We ate lunch, and then I had to start working because it was getting cold. So I had to work harder to warm back up. And then I was like, yeah, I don't think most people are. I don't think anyone had a horrible time. There was no type 3. There might have been a few type 2, depending on the people's personalities. And then it started raining harder. And then I was about to start walking the line, of people and go find Dan, and each group had a ranger assigned to us who had the big.
When you say a group, how many were in a group?
Like 20, 25. They were assigned a state employee who had the big radios to go up. I didn't bring all of our radios. And then Dan made the call around 1-ish, 1:20. Like, let's get off the mountain. Because also the deal was, and that was Cliff, the head ranger, too. The deal was if there's any lightning or thunder. But anyway, none of that, which was great.
Yeah.
But the problem is we actually did a ton of work. Like, you didn't realize how much trail we actually cut. And that trail we cut became very slippery.
Oh, because it's all new.
And we were pretty high up, and which worked great because you got to make sure the drainage from all the work was great and see how the water ran off and didn't puddle up. But it became slick, and it just wasn't enjoyable. It wasn't bad. Like, I'd never left type 1. I was getting close to 2 because I was getting cold, and I'm wearing pants and a button-up shirt. And we all just came off the mountain. So we were supposed to end at 3 and then kind of hang out and campfire. A lot of people, besides the people we lost, a lot of people just...
No, are they still out there, the ones you lost?
No. I mean, that didn't show up because they just opted not to join because it did look like we were getting a lot of rain.
Yeah, it's tough on volunteers when that weather turns up.
But, we still had a crew. A lot of people packed up and went home, which was great because it was 1:30. Then we were at the point I was like, do we go home or do we just chill?
Because the rain early enough that it's like,
we're already out here. It's established. We had canopies all over our site. We were able to get a fire going. There was never like a hard downpour for a while. The showers weren't hot, but I felt like I got rinsed off, so I just cleaned up.
A bunch of body wipes.
Just the rain.
The rain did it.
Yeah, the rain did it. So we all got in dry clothes and we just hung out.
Yeah, nice.
We got some firewood. There was a couple times, it would rain for a little bit. We get on the canopy. Fire would still going.
Did you have pellets?
No, we had great wood from the park though.
Okay.
We never had a fire problem.
Yeah.
And we just hung out. We had a bunch of food.
Like the fire guy.
Yeah. We had a bunch of food. We had birthday cake. I do not celebrate I celebrate my birthday for my mom and wife, Jess. But John Posner found out. He knew it was my birthday, so he brought a birthday cake. So we had birthday cake Saturday night. It's just fun. The rain did go away for a while, especially at night. We burned wood until about 9:30 and went to bed. And then it kept raining until like 2 a.m. And then I was telling you before this, and I got a new cot because I threw mine away at Croatan. It was older.
I was like, look, it's ripped. And you're like, oh,
yeah.
Rip.
And there was no fix in that one.
No.
I bought what I thought was going to be a really good one, and I think it was, but my sleeping style wasn't conducive to it. It was nice. The way it folded out, it was a little bit quieter than the Coleman, but it was narrower.
Ooh.
But the back quarter is angled up a little bit, so you're not laying completely flat, which I liked.
Yeah, I like that too.
I was like, oh, this is awesome. But man, I didn't sleep good on it. Both nights.
Hard to beat the Coleman, man.
I'll buy another Coleman because I think I'm sleeping on a cot on a porch.
Because they're cheap too.
People summer camp.
$50.
Yeah, this one was $50. That's why I figured I'd give it a try.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be great for my nephews or something.
Yeah.
But I'm a side sleeper, and I was telling you, my back's killing me through this episode. But between the hard ride, the trail work, the cot, the drive, my back's throbbing. But then, the tent was leaking. The gazelle or the gazebo.
It's not really a sleeping tent.
No, and we didn't bring. I forgot the rug. It was that really, really fine like gravel.
Yeah,
but we did take the box because I was also an idiot.
I meant to take the big rug. I have a rug that covers that whole bottom of the thing.
I was the guy that got the cot on Thursday night, and I just threw the box. I didn't even take it apart to make sure it all worked. But we used the box as like as the floor between the cots for me and Adam. But where we strung the LED lights, I think where that was putting pressure on the tent, it was leaking.
Okay.
So I didn't have a miserable night's sleep.
It's really a gazebo meant to keep the bugs at bay.
Yeah, we should have put the canopy over top of it at night. We didn't know.
Yeah, you never know. You never know what's gonna...
and
it held up really well. I think we used it just like that at Unpaved.
And we got rained on.
But we didn't have rain.
Oh, it poured.
We had like did it rain last night?
No,
yes,
it did. Remember that storm at Unpaved 2-3 years ago?
I just don't remember.
We all got in our tent with Austin and Ellen in their tent, and it just opened up.
Oh, that's right. But it wasn't for long, though, was it?
No.
Yeah, I'm just remembering. Yeah.
So,
a lot of heavy rain. A
little bit of I brought 2 pillows. One pillow was soaked. I was able to take my towel and a puffy jacket and put it between my sleeping bag and the cot where it was wet. But then I'd wake up and I'd get hit in the face, so I moved my cot a little bit. But then, like the bottom, there was a little section, so I'd sleep like kind of like an S. Not bad. Like I was actually out from like 10 o'clock till 2 a.m. like solid.
Yeah. And
then my insomnia kicked in. I was up from like 2 to 4. And then I slept really hard from 4 to 6, and then we packed up and left around 7:30.
That's typical. That sounds like a bike packing camping experience where you sleep for 2 hours and you're awake for 2 hours. And you
Croatan, I slept through both nights great.
Yeah.
That cot,
I may have gotten when we were at Slocum
slept better.
I may have slept better than I sleep at home. It was just. I also think that you and Jack might be in trouble. My little gazelle. I think a part of it was I really enjoyed being in there by myself.
Oh, that's fine. I need a gazelle. I do like how easy it was to set up
They're so simple, folks. If you car camp at all, the gazelle and gazelle style, because there's ones on Amazon. They're just so simple to set up and break down.
Yeah,
there's no fuss, no muss. It just you pop the sides out, you throw the top one, you pop it up, and you're done.
Yeah,
and I had a heater in mine that had a little electric running. The heater, it was toasty, even though it was like in the 40s outside.
We didn't need, it got in the 40s, but we didn't need a heater. I was pretty warm.
Okay. Well, I always think I'm going to be, and then I wish I had it. So this one, I'm glad that I went ahead and set that up and got it working. I let it run while Larry and I were out at pizza. I had it in that tent running. So when we got back,
burned down.
It's a ceramic heater. She's fine.
But no, it was still a great weekend.
So how much trail do you think you actually built?
I have no idea.
Ballpark it.
I don't know.
Half mile? Quarter mile?
Less than a quarter.
Less than a quarter?
7,000 feet, but we only had 100 people.
7,000 feet of trail is that's over a mile. You know that, right?
Yeah, but I think with our numbers and the way we split up, maybe a quarter, half a mile. Okay. We didn't touch half a mile.
So what happens with that trail now? Is it just considered not open?
Yeah, it's not like the first part of it specifically where you can see isn't actually worked on.
Oh, okay.
So people can't just be like,
here's some trail, and then they get to the end
of the project over time where different groups will come in. We just did the big push, and we
Okay.
might go back in smaller crews. The nice thing with us now was no one else was there. We had the whole campsite. That campground will get packed quickly.
Yeah. Somebody will find it and they'll build a little connector.
They regulate that pretty well.
I was just reading about that.
Part of the lake.
Yeah, I was just reading about that. How folks that go out, and I don't know what they're called, pirate trails.
You're not going to pirate trail at public park.
But people that do it, they actually end up getting more in the way of the approvals and the permitting for people that are actually trying to build real trails. So don't do it, folks. I guess that's
there's parts of. There's a good Shimano video, I think, about a lot of pirate trails in Oregon that got closed down, and they were actually really nice trails, but nothing was done under the right circumstances of paperwork and whatnot. So, no, that one will get worked on this year. It'll connect a lot, and we're basically like feet away from the Pennsylvania border because Rocky Gap's on the border. Like further up the mountain, we kept hiking, we'd be at Pennsylvania.
So what happens there? Or is it the park system? Trail just stops. Okay.
I don't know if the trail, I mean, that's like as far as jurisdiction. Like, there's some overlap because where we go to Fairhill, I think part of the camping and part of the trail system for Fairhill is Pennsylvania. It's not like you just like hit this wall.
Thank you for going out there and doing the people's work.
I think the thing that people don't realize until they do trail work is how hard it is. And you look up after you think you've like you did accomplish a lot, but you're like, I did this 20-foot stretch the whole time I was out there.
Yeah.
And I don't think we would have made it till 3:00 with how hard it was and people getting worn out. So the rain was like the nice.
The last thing you want to do is a volunteer effort like that for somebody to get hurt.
Yeah.
Because they're tired to put a McLeod through their toe or something like that.
And there was a dad and a son. They're on a Nike team next to us, and the dad was talking to the son about like, in a year you'll come out and ride this. You won't remember what section you did, but you'll really appreciate it, and that's what happens.
It's cool. So, thank you for doing that. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to give a very quick update on my American Classics.
They're like my car tires right now. I saw tread on my rear tires today.
I was very excited to try these American Classics because I'd been wanting to go ahead and get to the 50s after my 42. My Pathfinders gave up the ghost at Monster Cross just this year. So I went. I was on the hunt for cheapest tires. Now, not cheap tires. I still wanted tubeless. I still wanted, what would be but I said, let's find the lowest possible entry point for $45 a tire, 700 by 50, set up tubeless. And then the American Classics, you buy them off of Amazon. And to be fair, it was the aggregate, not the Kimberlite. The Kimberlite has a center file tread that's very similar to the Pathfinder. The aggregate has knobbies, but they're small knobs across the entire width of the tire. So that's what I got set up. Setup was easy. They went on great. I tried 40 PSI. I tried all different sort of pressure levels, 40, 35. And I found the lower I went, the better the tire felt and the better performance I got out of it. So I got it down to around 30, and I actually peaked it down to 28 for Lulaca. And grip was not an issue early on, but I showed you these pictures. I've shared these pictures on the GTA After Hours. The rear tire, as Ted put it, the gravel slick conversion is almost complete on that rear tire. Yeah. There's just literally no tread left on it, which makes me worry about what the compound of the actual tire is. So I'm very, very nervous of even like this weekend, I'm going out to Warm Springs.
Are you keeping those on?
I keep them on until the new ones show up, and they've already been ordered. And so it's less than 1,000 miles on these tires. And honestly, I don't think I've ever worn out the tread on any gravel tire. There's always a catastrophic failure that comes into play. Like you tear it, you rip it, you get those punctures, and finally you get 2 or 3 of them, and then there's the slow leak, and then you finally have to give them up. I don't think I've ever had one where I'd look at it and say, the tread is done. I need to replace this tire. So it's a first for me. And it wasn't even 1,000 miles. And of that 1,000 miles, I'm going to say maybe 20% of it was gravel, because I've got Croatan under my belt on that. I've got all that stuff we did on the Eastern Shore. I got Lulaca. I've got, every time I go out on that bike, I mean, we don't have a lot of gravel around here, but I find it. Up on Woods Road down here on Dow, that new section that I found up off of Ball Road. I do the cemetery over there. So every time I go out, I'm going to get 2 or 3 miles on a 20-mile ride of gravel. So I'm going to say I probably got about 25%. 25% is actual gravel, which the rest of it being hardtop. And when I look at that aggregate, they've rated it as gravel and mixed surface. And then the Kimberlite is the one that's sort of mixed surface and pavement. So it could partly be on me, but at the same time, I think that tire should have held up a little bit. So where are we going next? Terravale, going back to the Washburns. We all ran the Washburns.
Yeah. I never looked those up yet.
We all ran the Washburns, and I had them in the 42, but as you know, I'm pretty much sold, and I'm a 50s guy now. And the Washburns only went to 47 until this year. Terravale has launched a new Washburn line called Gen 2, which comes with a new size pattern, includes up to a 50, and it's instead of 60 TPI, it's 120, still in a durable casing. So I will let you know, and that's a $75 tire. Now, Larry for Lulaca had the Pirellis, the Cinturados in 50s. So Larry has gone 50s, which really surprised me. He's a thinner tire, high pressure guy because gravel be damned. I'm just going to run down this hill on whatever, and I slip slide all over the place. But I think he really enjoyed the feel of those 50s, and I think I came to the conclusion that there's really not that big a penalty in the way I ride. Now, if I was a high performance racer, sure, there's probably going to be a difference. But for me, that climbs slow and a bike that climbs slow, the 50s give me that edge on the descents that I think makes up for what I lose in other places. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm looking them up now.
Yeah. So that's the Terravale Washburn, and it is the Gen 2. And they are very good at actually marketing it as Gen 2. It's 120 DPI versus the traditional Washburn, which was 60 TPI, and that's threads per inch. And still in a durable casing. They also have it in a supple casing as well, but I'm not going there because every time I go supple casing on anything, Rene Hirsch, I end up paying the price for that. And I'm just 75 is not bad. I know that Larry paid somewhere around 65 or 70 for those Cinturados, which I thought were a little bit more expensive than that. So I feel good about this, and I'll keep you posted. I almost, part of me wants to keep that American Classic on there till it fails, but part of me knows that would be really, 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 really dumb to do that. So coming up this weekend, and we're going to talk a lot about this next week, we've got our first GTD After Hours meetup that Casey's put together. He's calling it the White Whale Meetup because that's what he calls his van. We're going out to Warm Springs. We're going to go to the Bath County Pump System campground that Dominion built. And it is Dominion Energy. It's an actual lake system. And what they do is at night, when electricity is cheaper, they use pumps to pump all the water back up to the top lake. And then during the day, the water goes through the turbines through the system down to the bottom lake and generates power. And so it's a different way to generate power. It's the old grist mill kind of paddle wheel kind of thing. So we're going to do a couple of days of riding. I don't know whether I'm going. I know they're going to be in there Thursday, but I think I might go up Friday. Thinking about going Thursday. Not really sure yet. And I think we're going to stay through Sunday night or Monday. Maybe it's only $10 a night for this campground that's got really nice sites and really nice bathrooms and hot showers. I've stayed there before with ACA. That was our stop before we got to Covington on Allegheny Mountains. So that's this coming weekend. And you can go to GTD After Hours. Anybody can come. Anybody can come join us at an After Hours meetup. Go ahead over there, join graveltraveldirt.com. Look for the big After Hours button right in the front. You want to do this or that real quick? I know we are. We're cruising on time, man. I told you we had a jam-packed show this week, even though we don't have a guest. So, first item on this week's This or That, Joey. Would you rather build trail in the rain or build trail in the heat?
Rain.
Rain all day.
We don't do trail work in the heat.
Yeah.
Like a lot of places for SM&B and stuff, we don't do.
It'd be miserable.
July, August.
You'd never get anybody out. And you also got bugs that time of year. And
down here, it's the horse flies.
Humidity.
Ticks ruddy. I did my Sawyer certification and came out with 6 ticks last weekend. I've done a lot of manual labor for the state in the last few weeks, which is why I'm not going to the event. I need a weekend home, but rain.
Yeah. Rain all day. I would also take rain.
Yeah.
Because I've
done it in the rain multiple times.
Heat is miserable. There's so many other things that come with that. Okay. Second item, Lulaca or almost any other gravel ride that's out there.
I don't know. I've never done a Lulaca. I got to say, Lulaca. It was one of our original talked about.
I can remember we didn't know how to say any of it.
Yeah.
It was like, well,
I think we were at Wes's house when we first talked about it.
Yeah.
Early.
Maybe that's part of why I was so jazzed about it, is because it's one of those things I wanted to do forever.
7, 8 years to do.
Yeah. It just took forever. Party pace with friends, or a late start, but you get to pass everybody else.
I don't really care about past people.
That's the point.
Party pace.
Party pace all day with
keep
friends.
This up to be easy.
Party pace all day. Okay, this last one, in all of those first three, this and that, were just to reinforce all of those wonderful things about Lulaca and what you did over the weekend. This one's kind of fun. Would you rather have an invisible bike or an invisibility kit? So you're invisible and your bike's just moving along, or you're just hovering along because your bike is invisible. Would you rather
want
be
the invisible kit?
The invisible kit?
That would look fun, yeah.
Yeah. But nobody would know it's you. Well, you could do all sorts of fun stuff.
Am I invisible, or
like
everything's like
Harry
Potter,
you're like a cloak kind of thing. I didn't know how else to say it. So like you're completely invisible, and the bike's just moving along. Because think of the fun stuff that you could do. You could like be riding along, and then you could jump off your bike and push it, and then you yeet it off of a cliff.
Yeah, I'd go for the kit.
Kit all day. You could AI Photoshop the bike out with most of the software today. So invisibility kit, that would just be so much fun, I think, to be an invisible rider. So real quick, this or that, because I knew we were going to go long today. So we were real quick on those. Are you ready, Joey, to shut this thing down?
No, actually, Pat never texted me back about Lulaca. It's not like he's teaching or anything.
We'll follow up.
But I will say, on accident, I went to the Croatan website. Croatan Buck 50, March 20th, 2027.
There we go.
So put it on the calendars now so I can sign up for something stupid and end up just doing the 50 anyway.
We got to watch that video. We recorded videos on our way back. We actually didn't even do that. We said we were going to do it.
It is a Saturday. Let's make sure Matt just didn't wing. He's a smart guy, but it's the third Saturday in March.
Okay.
So
Croatan. So we can already start talking about Croatan.
But it's recorded now. This is like an intervention. Just sign up for the 50.
Just do it. Just don't even think about anything else. Yep. Absolutely. There's no other nonsense. And if you start talking about single speed, I'm going to throw punch you.
I did talk to Carl. He texted me earlier last week. He said, "So are we both really doing?" Well, we didn't say the 100, but I will get Carl down. I would love for Carl to come down with us. And do it on.
Hell yeah! I'm not doing that.
Well, me and Carl.
Yeah, you can do the clunker thing.
I think it'd be fun. I don't think it's stupid.
I
think it'd be fun to do the 50 on the clunkers, me and Carl. We'll back of the pack. We will just cruise. Mm-hmm. We'll have a blast.
Well, see, I think going to it, you have no expectations with regard to.
I set the bar really low this year. That was my worst performance, and it was fun though.
I know we don't worry about racing. That's not the thing. But there's another thing when you're out there and you're suffering. That's tough.
I was suffering this year.
That's tough. That is tough.
I'll pack my AirPods next time.
And I'm so glad that I just left you because I didn't want to participate in your suffering.
But I had picnics and everything. But yeah, 2027 Croatan, Joey and Carl do it on the clunkers.
All right.
We'll get T-shirts and maybe wear a suit jacket each.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll make you some Masters. We'll get some Masters jackets.
Yeah.
Because now we got the logo.
Yeah, but what we'll do is we'll bring our coffee setups too. We'll just stop.
You could just stop in the clunker. You could have a little trailer.
No trailer, just a little frame bag.
Just a little frame bag that carries, so you could do espressos.
Yeah, do a couple espressos.
And it's not like you're going to be there forever. You could set up for like a pop-up espresso. You're there for 20 minutes, and if you came by and your timing was you got an espresso, good on you. But if you didn't, well,
or even like I had my
that would be so much fun.
I forgot the
you might get me on
steep coffee bags.
You might get me on a clunker for that. If you did like a whole pop-up espresso thing.
All right,
and you could wear little waiter suits, like have a little waiter
T-shirt.
Yeah, you might get me.
Me and Carl will
talk for that.
I think we'll be.
You might get me on a clunker for that. Hey, folks, don't forget GTD After Hours. Head over to the website at graveltraveldirt.com. Look for the big button. Join us there. It is the way to support the podcast. I've had people say, I'm not a Discord user. That's not the point, folks. Discord's the bonus, and it is fantastic. Yep. Don't get me wrong. Our Discord server, I think, has the potential with all of the things that are going on over there to be just a tremendous resource for you and a way for you to interact with a vetted community.
It takes some time, but the more the merrier.
But we are going to go ahead and shut this thing down. Joey, how can folks get in touch with us?
On the Discord channel. It's just the best way to support us. Yeah, that's it. I'm just kidding. Our Instagram is at Gravel Travel Dirt.
No, it's not.
No, what is it? I do this too much. Our website's graveltraveldirt.com, which will take you to Discord, and our Instagram is at MidAtlanticGT.
Right. That's right. Mid-Atlantic Gravel Travel and Dirt is recorded this week from right here in Blake's kitchen. And I didn't really get a big Blake greeting when I came in.
He was half asleep on the couch.
Yeah. He actually smiled at me from under the table. He was like, I'm not getting up, but I'm showing you my teeth.
He's tired. I had him out all morning.
Yeah.
We walked, we ran. He's kind of back to normal. Apparently, he leaped over the back of the couch while I was gone, like full on.
He's
a giant orthopedic
full health
surgery.
Blake.
Well, he shouldn't. He's back to normal, but I'm still very helicopter. Yeah. He should still be.
It'd be that way.
He just is off his restrictions from the timeline from the vet.
All right, folks. Thanks for riding along with us. Until next time, do good, be nice, go slow, respect others.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
I'm going to leave.